Alright, so welcome back to the second one, which is compound interest. So in this, I'll be looking at three objectives as well. So I want to define what compound interest is, and I want to see the understanding of the components of the compound interest formula as well. So I also explain the difference between compound interest and a simple interest. Then how to calculate the final amount and interest and using the components of the formulas. Okay, let's start with the definition. So when we talk about compound interest, let me explain it in this way. So let's see what we have in the note first. Compound interest is interest calculated on the initial principal and on the accumulated interest from previous periods. In simple terms, it is interest on interest, which causes your money to grow much faster over time compared to simple interest. Let me give you an instance. You deposited 10,000 naira in a bank. It's 10,000 naira, right? Sorry for that. 10,000 naira. All right. Now, after a year, you earned an interest of, let's say, 500 naira. So which means at the end of the first year, your total money will be what? 10,500 naira. If what you are operating is compound interest, the second year principal will be 10,500. Unlike that of simple interest, your interest is fixed for the years. That is, year 1, you are going to have the same interest. Year 2, you have the same interest. Year 3, the same interest. So it's all be 500 every year. So which means now that the principal has increased to 10,500 now, so which means the interest for the second year will be higher than 500 naira. That is just the basically the difference between the two of them. So which means the interest will always be added to the principal every year. It should be accumulating. You will be adding it every year. So whatever interest we have, let's say in the year 2 we earn an interest of 700 naira. All right, which is quite different from 500 naira. So you add it to it. So this will at the beginning of the third year, your money will have grown to 11,200. I hope I'm making sense. So this is what we refer to as compound interest. So that's compound interest. The difference is that the interest will be added to the principal to form a new principal in the following year. Sorry. I hope that is very clear. So that is that on this one. So the formula of compound interest. So compound interest is interest calculated on initial deposit. Okay, sorry. The formula is this. Now, I want to show something. We can do it in two ways. So we can do it in two ways. We can have the formula here. We can make use of the formula and we can do it manually. I'm going to display the two for you. So we have formula is A. The A here is the amount at the end of the years. So ordinarily amount is principal plus interest. That is, you have added the interest to the principal. So the formula to use is this. What you have there is not I, is 1. 1 plus R, which is the rate. A is the final amount. Then P is the principal. R is the rate, which is usually calculated in percentage. Then T is the time. Sometimes in some textbooks you put N there. All right. So how do we calculate it? So we're going to have this. Don't forget to find the interest at the end of the day. We are going to, I said amount is equal to principal plus interest. So that means to now find the interest will then be, you bring this principal to this side, that will be equal to amount minus the principal. So whatever we get from the formula here, we are still going to subtract the principal from it to get our compound interest for the years. I hope that is clear. Now we are going to apply it using the formula. So the formula, which is amount equals to P, open brackets, 1 plus the rate raised by the T. So here the P is 5,000. Let me use another color. So the P is 5,000. The interest, this is the R, and the year is T. So let's apply this now. So the principal, that is 5,000. Open the brackets, 1 plus the rate. The rate now, you cannot see 100 there. The rate is 5%. That means 10%. You take 10% to percent to decimal. So 10 divided by 100. So that is 0.1. So that is going to be 0.1. Please don't put 10 there. Raised by the number of years, that is be 3 years. I hope I'm making sense. Okay, so we now 5,000, open brackets, 1 plus 0.1, that gives us 1.1 raised by 3. So here you are going to do, what is it called? Times 1.1 means 1.1 raised by 3 means 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.1. So if you don't have it on your calculator, so we have like this one now, what I'm going to have 1.1. I'll press this x raised by y. So x raised by y I have on the screen, no. So 1.1. So it's good to take it to a caret at the top. Then I'll put 3 there. Then I'll press equals. So that's 1.331. So this means 1.331. But if you don't have that on your calculator, or you are finding difficult to do, just say 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.1 equals to, you can see we still arrive at the same answer. So now the next thing is now we multiply by 1,000, 5,000, 5,000. So this gives us 6,655. So that means the answer is 6,665. So that is the answer. 655, really. 655. Alright, so that is the answer. So that is one way of doing it. And if you don't want to do it this way, there's another way of doing it manually. So let me explain that. We'll be adding it, you're going to have it in this form. To be in form of a table, you have a Naira here, you have another Naira here. So we say year one, the principal, which is 5,000. We'll put 5,000 here. So principal. So I'll calculate interest for that year. Which is going to give me what? 10%. 10% times 5,000. So that means 0.1 times 5,000. So that gives me 500. I'll put 500 here. I will add them together. So this gives me 5,500. So this is for year one. This is what my money will be at the end of year one. So I'll go to year two. Year two, the principal, instead of the principal to be 5,000, it should now be 5,500. I hope you are getting me. So we go to the interest for year two again. So that will be 10% times 5,500. So let's go to our calculator. So 10% is 0.1 times 5,500. What do we have? We have 550. We put 550 here. We add it together again. So this gives us 0, 5, 0. So that gives 6,050. 3 years. We go to year 3. Year 3, principal. So what's going to be the principal? Again now. So the principal will be what? 6,050. Very good of you. So the interest will be 10% times 6,050. All right. So we go to our calculator again. 0.1 times 6,050. What do we have? 605. 605. All right. So this will give us what? 5, 5, 6, 6, 6,655. What do we get here? 6,655. That is the amount at the end of the 3. So we now need to calculate the interest. So interest, well, that is not your final answer. The interest, unless the question asks you what is the amount at the end of the 3rd year. So your answer will be this. So the interest will now be amount minus the principal. So which is equal to 6,655 minus 5,000. So the the compound interest will now be 1,655. I believe this is very clear. All right, so that is how to calculate it manually without using the formula. So if you can't recall the formula, just make use of this. Your examiner will mark it right for you. Unless if the examiner asks you to follow his own rule, the way of doing it. So, but it is very clear to you now. So you can practice, and I have practice questions here. Calculate the final amount, like this one now. Look at this question now. Question 1, practice question I have there. This one here. The question is calculate the final amount. So when you use the formula, so you are not going to subtract the principal from it anymore. All right, that will be the final answer. All right. So the second one, how much total interest is earned on 10,000 naira? Excuse me. At 8% compounded annually for 2 years. So this one is compound interest. How much interest? You are looking for interest. So here the question asks you, this one is compound, the second one is compound interest. Why the third one is not compounded? The third one is, what was the total interest earned? What was the total interest earned? Okay, yeah. So we have, if 1,500 grows to 1,800 in 3 years with annual compounding, what was the total interest earned? So this one just subtract this one. This one just say it grows from 1,500 to 1,800. That means 1,800 minus 1,500. So that means it is what? 300 interest. So the interest is 300. All right. I hope this is very clear to you. So I wish you the best. All right. So that's it.